What's up, what's up, what's up? It's your man Chaz Ellis once again giving you the information that you asked me for. Make sure you go to the ChazEllisProject.com. This is the last day to get access to the live stream. All the free tickets are gone. Told you. But with just a $1 donation that goes to the homeless, you can get a ticket and be able to watch. It's going to be at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, Eastern Standard Time, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you go ahead and check that out. Go, there'll be a thing in the description box that you can click, or you can just go to the ChazEllisProject.com and get access. Anyway, I got a really good question, and I've been getting this question from a lot of people in different ways. And it's basically saying, why is it that the opposite sex just doesn't appreciate what I do for them? You know, women will say, why is it that men don't appreciate what I do for them? Men will say, why is it that women don't appreciate what I do for them? And even sometimes men will say, why is it that men don't appreciate what I do for them? And sometimes women will say, why is it that women don't appreciate what I do? It depends on what's floating their boat. So I get all kinds of different questions, and people ask me this stuff, you know, a lot. The thing about it is, and this is going to sound really dickish. I'm just going to let you know that right off top, okay? Because it's something that people don't really tell you. Because they don't want to hurt your feelings, or they don't want to say something bad to you. But I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's just keeping it real. Anyway, here's how it goes. In life, we have a window. This is how we all look at relationships. Okay, here's your ideal person, right? Everybody has what they would call an ideal person. It doesn't necessarily mean this is a particular person that's a celebrity or something. It doesn't mean that. It's just saying this is what your ideal person, basically a set of attributes that your ideal person would have. These are the categories that your ideal person would be, you know, high in. Okay? Then you have the bare minimum. Like right here would be bare minimum. This is like the person that you would, the least amount of those attributes that you would take and still take that person seriously in a relationship. Now, if you are this person, the ideal, then you're pretty much going to have it made no matter what. Now, if you are outside of bare minimum, then nothing you do is going to matter. If you're somewhere in between, you can make headway. You can do some of the things that are going to matter to make that person interested in you, to make them like you a lot more, to make them even fall in love with you. As long as you're in the window. Now, what often happens is we date people and we're not in the window. We all got our ideal person, and let's be real. Be honest. Be real with yourself. You know good and well, if you're talking to somebody and they're not your ideal person, or they're not even in the window, there is nothing that they could do that's going to make you really like them. There's nothing they could do. You don't want those things from them. See, everybody has things in life that they want. But there are particular people that they want those things from. It's like if you give somebody flowers, you might be like, I give girls flowers all the time, and they don't never want them flowers. They don't act like that. Women don't like flowers. But then you walk up and see somebody else, give them a flower, one flower. You gave her a dozen roses. He gave her one flower. Wasn't even a rose. Was a daffodil. You see him give her one, and then she just went crazy. Oh my God, he gave me a flower. A lot of women the same way. They like, man, you know, guys don't like it when you cook dinner for them. You know, you make this elaborate 5-course meal for a dude, put it out there, and he just like, yeah, whatever. And then you see another girl make this dude a fried bologna, egg, and cheese sandwich, and he's like, oh my God, you fried bologna, egg, and cheese. Oh, snap. What? That happens. Because it depends, and I know it kind of sounds dickish to say that, but it depends on where you are in terms of their ideal person. If your ideal person bought you a Kit Kat, you'd be hyped. Man, girl bought a brother a Kit Kat, gave it to me. She was like, hey, you know what I'm saying? I'm happy, bro. But if somebody you're not really interested in, somebody that's on the outside of what you would consider somebody that you ever have a relationship with, if they got you a Kit Kat, forget it. If they got you a box of chocolates, you'd be like, really? Box of Thank you. I appreciate that. It doesn't change how you feel about them. So, if you want people to appreciate you, you have to make sure that that you are in the window for what they're looking for. And it's easy to tell because you can tell by the reactions you're getting initially. If you do stuff for somebody and they don't really seem to care, it doesn't really seem to float them in the other direction towards love, then you know that they're just not feeling you. A lot of times we just don't want to believe it. And here's what people do. This is what we generally do. This is why it's hard to find somebody. This is what we generally do. Ideal person here. We put everything into that person. Oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to give him this. I'm going to give him that. Right? And then everybody, even in between, we give them less and less and less and less. And if we're on the outside of it, if they're on the outside, we don't give them anything. And then we say people don't appreciate anything. They don't appreciate nothing, bro. I do this for these girls. They don't appreciate nothing. You do this for a girl. You do this for this girl who has no interest in you. Anything in between, you put forth less effort. And that's kind of how it works. You know, they have something like military, law enforcement, all of that. They have something called, overwhelming force. You know, a large show of force, right? It is basically where you take a situation where you don't really need all these people, but you bring them anyway. Okay? You bring more people than you need. And the reason why you bring more people than you need because it makes it way more likely for you to win. Sometimes you just win out of intimidation, right? So when you're with somebody and this person is acceptable to you, like, you know, I'd want to be with you. You know, you may not be my ideal person, but maybe your ideal person doesn't like you. So they may not be the ideal person, but there's somebody that would be acceptable to you. And you'd be surprised how much as long as somebody's in the window, you can fall in love with that person, just to be real. But if they're acceptable to you, put the effort in. But what most people do is we don't. We only put the effort into that one person, and then we've decided that because that one person didn't like it or didn't appreciate it, then nobody gets that same amount of effort. And even though we gave diminished effort to everybody else, because that's what we do, basically. The person who's most likely to like this great amount of effort and it just turned them into somebody who loves us, we put almost nothing into that person. We put almost zero effort into that person. Because we've decided by you trying to get the ideal person that it doesn't work. All right? Now here's some more stuff that's going to sound kind of dickish. I'm just going to give you that heads up. Some of us have it a little easier because ultimately we are someone's ideal person. We are more often a lot of people's ideal person. Okay? And then some of us really aren't very many people's ideal person. Okay? I'm just being real. Maybe you're not ideal physically to somebody. And you don't make up for it in the financial categories or, you know, just having that great outgoing personality that everybody likes and people just kind of don't really notice what you look like. Maybe your past is kind of messed up. Maybe you got a bunch of kids or something like that. And you can't make up for it in other categories. Because basically what we do is we rate people in all categories across the board. And we have whatever, and we're individuals, everybody's different. We all have like what our bare minimums are in any particular category. Okay? And maybe for you, you may not be high enough in any category to cancel out the fact that you have bare minimums, that you don't meet most people's bare minimums in the category. I know that might sound dickish, but we're going to tell you how to work on that. And that, you know, it could be for me too. It could be for anybody. You know, where you're in a situation where maybe you're just not a lot of people's ideal person. And for even a lot of people, you may not even be their bare minimum. That sucks, but it happens. Maybe your attractiveness level to most people is just not there that all the other stuff that you do just doesn't really seem to matter. Maybe you're just so broke that most people just don't want anything to do with you. It happens, man. You might just be so broke that, and you're not so high in some other category. Like you might be broke as hell, but just be like freaking, Denzel Washington, Leonardo DiCaprio looking mug, you know what I'm saying? And people are like, oh, snap, I'm going to take care of him. But you may not be in that situation. So, either way, what I'm saying is sometimes if you're really low in one category, so like kind of really, really low, it puts you in a situation where everything you do just doesn't seem to matter to people because and you keep getting that across the board with everybody because of the fact that basically you're nobody's, or I don't want to say nobody, you're not a lot of people's ideal person. What you do about that is there's two things you can do. Either you can try to put a lot of effort into a relationship, put a lot of effort into the other person, and, you know, maybe if you find somebody that you're close enough, then you'll get somebody y'all connect. Or you can do what I talk about all the time. This is working on yourself. A relationship is 99% about you. Then it's about how you treat the other person. Because honestly, the higher level you're at, the less you really gonna have to do. Just being real. So if you're saying it's a thing where you're not very attractive, well, maybe you're not gonna be able to fix that. You possibly could, possibly couldn't. Maybe you can. But what you could do is you could pump up other areas so that you become, because I'll put it to you like this. There's some people that if you're rich, you're their ideal person. Fact. If you got a good, outgoing, fun personality, for some people, you're their ideal person. They don't really care about some other stuff. That makes you their ideal person. And sometimes those people can be in your window. They could be either your ideal person or, you know, at least somebody you would want to be with and take seriously. Because honestly, ideal doesn't last forever anyway. So as long as they're in the window, that's why I say that's cool as long as they're in the window. Because ideal doesn't last forever anyway. They're going to get different looking. They're going to piss you off. And whatever their personality stuff is, you're going to be like, you know what? I don't like you that much. So that's going to happen anyway. So basically, as long as they're in your window. Now, that's what you can do. You can start finding people by pumping up areas that you can pump up. What a lot of people do is they have this thing where they say, you know what? It's not working for me, so I'm just going to give up. I'm just going to stop trying. I've given my all to these people who are my ideal people. It hasn't worked. I don't really want to settle for somebody who's less than my ideal person. And I really don't want to settle for somebody who's outside of the window at all. And those seem to be the only people who will deal with me and take me seriously. And what they never really think of doing is large amounts of self-improvement. If you are in a situation where you know you're not most people's ideal person, but you want to be treated like an ideal person, you're going to have to, it's like I call first choice, whatever you want to call it. You have to make sure that you put the effort into building yourself up to where you are now the ideal person for more than a few people. You are now an ideal person to be dated. Now the effort that you put in is going to start working. The connections that you make are going to start working. Because you got to do both. You got to pump yourself up, and then you have to put in the effort. Because it's all about, and I've said this in other videos before too, first it's about who you are, and then it's about who you are to them. So sometimes what we don't look at, like a lot of dudes will say, man, chicks like assholes. No, chicks put up with assholes because those people were their ideal person, and that's how they're getting treated by them. If that same dude tried to treat a girl like that, but he wasn't her ideal person, and he wasn't even in the window of what she wanted, she wouldn't put up with it. Same thing with guys. People put up with more from people who they see as their ideal person. So that's what you got to do. Pump it up. Get yourself to be in a better position where you're going to be more people's ideal person. Then your efforts will start working. I know that sounds like a lot to do, but self-improvement is the whole point of life. Hopefully I was able to help you out. Once again, it's your man, Chaz Ellis. Make sure you like and subscribe. Share this video with somebody else. Also go to the ChazEllisProject.com. Peace.